The hydraulic press exploded at 3:47 a.m. I wasn't there when it happened, but I felt it in my bones the moment my phone started screaming at 4:15. 26 missed calls in 28 minutes. The emergency alert system lighting up like a Christmas tree. Plant security, line supervisors, even the night janitor. Everyone calling Wade McKenzie because when 40 tons of steel and hydraulic fluid decide to turn a production line into scrap metal, there's only one guy they trust to fix it. I'm Wade McKenzie, 47 years old, and for 21 years I've been the guy who keeps Great Lakes Automotive running when everything else falls apart. Before that, I spent 8 years in the Army as an engineer, mostly making sure things didn't blow up. Turns out the skills transfer pretty well to civilian life, except now when something explodes, it costs the company money instead of potentially getting people killed. I sat in my truck in the employee parking lot, engine off, watching the red emergency lights flash across the main building. The coffee in my thermos was still warm from the pot I'd made at home after the calls woke me up. Through the chain link fence, I could see the hazmat team setting up their equipment. Yellow caution tape stretched across the entrance to Building C, where Line 3 used to produce brake components for Ford's F-150 trucks. Used to, past tense. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 days ago, my supervisor told me I wasn't qualified for the raise I'd requested. Today, they were calling me at 4 a.m. because a piece of equipment I'd been warning them about for 8 months had finally done what broken hydraulic systems do when you ignore them long enough. I picked up my phone and scrolled through the call log. 26 calls from 12 different people, all asking the same question. Wade, can you get down here? We need you to look at this. Not please or when you get a chance. Need. Like I was their personal 911 service. I set the phone down and took a long sip of coffee. Not because I was trying to punish anyone or prove a point. I just knew that sometimes the best way to show people what you're worth is to let them figure out what happens when you're not there to catch everything that falls. To understand how I ended up in that parking lot at 4:30 a.m., watching my workplace turn into a disaster scene, I need to go back to Tuesday morning. That's when I walked into Braden Hoffman's office for what was supposed to be my annual performance review. Braden had been brought in 8 months ago from corporate headquarters in Toledo, MBA from some business school, zero manufacturing experience, and the kind of confidence that comes from never having to fix something with your own hands when it breaks at 2 a.m. He sat behind his desk like he was running Ford Motor Company instead of one mid-sized auto parts plant in suburban Detroit. Next to him was his niece Ashley, 24 years old, fresh out of college with an industrial engineering degree, and about as much real-world experience as the potted plant in the corner of his office. She'd been consulting on plant efficiency for the past 3 months, mostly by walking around with a clipboard asking questions like whether we really needed to check hydraulic fluid levels every shift. Wade, Braden said, not bothering with small talk, I've reviewed your performance metrics for the past year. While you're technically competent, I don't see the innovation and forward-thinking leadership qualities we need for salary advancement in today's competitive manufacturing environment. Ashley nodded along like she understood what leadership meant in a place where you can lose a finger if you don't respect the machinery. I'd watched her spend her first week here asking if we could just restart the hydraulic presses remotely from her laptop, like they were desktop computers instead of 40-ton death machines. I kept my face neutral. After 21 years in this business and 8 years in the military before that, I'd learned that some battles aren't worth fighting with words. Sometimes you just let reality do the talking. The plant is moving toward automation and data-driven decision-making, Braden continued, reading from what looked like a corporate memo. We need supervisors who can think strategically about the future, not just maintain legacy systems. Legacy systems. That's what he called the equipment that kept 200 families employed and produced $50 million worth of automotive components every year. Ashley jumped in with the enthusiasm of someone who'd never had hydraulic fluid spray in her face at 300 psi. We're implementing lean manufacturing principles and efficiency protocols that will reduce our dependence on specialist knowledge and create more standardized processes. Specialist knowledge. 21 years of keeping machinery running, preventing accidents, and training younger workers was now specialist knowledge that needed to be eliminated. I looked at both of them for about 3 seconds. Braden with his pressed shirt and tie, probably making twice my salary to read PowerPoint presentations. Ashley with her engineering degree and theories about how manufacturing should work, versus how it actually works when you're standing next to a machine that weighs more than a school bus. Understood, I said, and walked out. What they didn't know was that I'd been documenting everything for months. Every safety violation, every maintenance request that got denied for budget reasons. Every time they'd chosen to defer repairs because fixing things cost money and broken things just cost time. My time. The hydraulic presses were the worst of it. Those machines generate enough pressure to crush a car into a cube, and the safety interlocks had been bypassed 6 months ago to increase production speed. I'd written 14 reports about it, all filed under cost-benefit analysis pending. After the meeting, I made a simple decision that would change everything for everyone at Great Lakes Automotive. I was going to do my job, exactly my job, nothing more, nothing less. The next morning I clocked in at exactly 7 a.m., not 6:30 like I'd been doing for 21 years, not 6:45 to get a head start on the day shift's problems. 7 o'clock sharp because that's when my shift officially started according to my job description. I grabbed my work orders from the supervisor's desk and reviewed my assigned area. Building B, lines 5 through 8, routine maintenance and emergency repairs as needed. Nothing about Building C where the explosion happened. Nothing about lines 1 through 4, nothing about helping out wherever needed like I'd been doing since before Ashley was born. The first sign something was different came at 7:23 a.m. Danny Kowalski, one of the newer supervisors, jogged over to my workstation with that look of barely controlled panic I'd seen 100 times before. "Wade, thank God you're here," he said, slightly out of breath. "The backup hydraulic system for Line 2 is throwing error codes and production's already behind because of last night. Can you take a look?" I consulted my clipboard. "Line 2 isn't in my zone, Danny. That's Building A. You'll need to submit a work order through the proper channels." Danny stared at me like I'd just spoken in ancient Greek. "But Wade, you always handle the hydraulic systems. You're the only one who really understands them." "Then maybe it's time other people learned," I said, turning back to my scheduled inspection of Line 6's cooling system. By 9:30 a.m., the requests started piling up. The robotic welder on Line 1 was producing parts that didn't meet Ford's specifications. The conveyor belt system in Building A had developed a rhythmic grinding noise that meant the main drive bearing was about to seize. The backup generator's automatic transfer switch was malfunctioning, which meant if the power went out, half the plant would shut down. Each time someone came to me, I gave them the same answer. Submit a work order. Follow proper channels. That's not my assigned area. The funny thing was, I could see the problems getting worse by the hour. 21 years of experience meant I could walk through this plant blindfolded and tell you which machines were running hot, which ones were vibrating wrong, and which ones were about 3 hours away from catastrophic failure. But for the first time in over 2 decades, I kept that knowledge to myself. Ashley appeared at my workstation around 11 a.m., looking frazzled. Her neat ponytail from earlier was coming loose, and she had hydraulic fluid stains on her white blouse. She was carrying a stack of maintenance reports that looked like they'd been shuffled and reshuffled about 20 times. "Wade," she said, trying to sound authoritative but mostly sounding desperate, "there are multiple equipment failures happening simultaneously across several production lines. Everyone keeps saying you usually handle these types of issues. Can you help us prioritize the work orders?" I looked at her clipboard. Emergency repairs for 6 different machines, none of them in my assigned area. "These aren't my responsibility, Ashley. You'll need to assign them to the appropriate supervisors. But the other supervisors say they don't have your expertise with the hydraulic systems. Then maybe they should get some training," I said. "Isn't that part of your efficiency improvement plan? Reducing dependence on specialist knowledge?" Ashley's face went through about 4 different expressions in the space of 2 seconds. Confusion, frustration, understanding, and then something that might have been the first glimmer of actual respect. By lunchtime, the plant was running at about 60% capacity. The Line 1 welder was down completely after producing 200 defective brake brackets. The conveyor system had started making a noise that sounded like a freight train derailing. And somewhere in Building A cooling system was overheating because nobody else knew how to adjust the flow rates on the heat exchanger. I sat in the break room eating my sandwich and listening to the radio chatter on the maintenance frequency. Voices getting more urgent by the hour. People calling for Wade to come look at this, Wade to check that, Wade to fix everything that was slowly but inevitably falling apart. For 21 years, I'd been the invisible foundation holding this place together. Every time a young supervisor got in over his head, every time a system started showing warning signs, every time management's cost-cutting measures started causing real problems, they called Wade. Not because they respected my knowledge or valued my expertise, but because it was easier than actually learning how to do their jobs. At 1:30 p.m., the backup generator test failed completely. Jerry Caldwell, the regional director, was touring the plant that day with some corporate executives from Toledo. When the lights flickered and half the production floor shut down for 3 minutes, I could see them through the break room window, clustered around Braden like vultures around roadkill. I wasn't trying to sabotage anyone. I was doing exactly what my job description said to do. The problem was that my official job description bore almost no resemblance to what I'd actually been doing for the past 21 years. My son Jacob called during my break. He's 17, a senior in high school, smart as hell and planning to study engineering at Michigan State if we can figure out how to pay for it. Dad, everything okay? You sound different. Just having an interesting day at work, kiddo? Good interesting or bad interesting? I watched through the window as Ashley tried to explain to Jerry Caldwell why 3 production lines were down and why the backup systems everyone thought were reliable had turned out to be held together with prayers and one guy's unpaid overtime. I'll let you know tomorrow, I told him. That afternoon, things escalated quickly. The conveyor bearing seized completely, sending brake components scattering across the floor like mechanical confetti. The overheated cooling system triggered an automatic shutdown on line 4. The robotic welder, running without proper calibration, started producing parts so far out of spec that Ford's quality control system would probably reject the entire day's production. Braden called an emergency meeting at 3 p.m., all supervisors, all department heads, and me. The conference room felt like a courtroom where everyone was guilty, but nobody wanted to admit what they'd done wrong. I want to know what the hell is happening out there, Braden said, loosening his tie for the first time since I'd known him. We've got multiple system failures, production down 40%, and corporate breathing down my neck about quality control issues. Ashley sat beside him, no longer the confident consultant with all the answers. Her notebook was filled with frantic scribbles, and she kept glancing at me like she was hoping I'd suddenly volunteer to fix everything. Wade, Braden said, turning to me with something that might have been desperation creeping into his voice. I need you to get out there and get these systems running. I don't care what it takes. I stayed calm. I'd been calm all day, actually. Calmer than I'd felt in years. I'm handling all the maintenance requests in my assigned area according to standard procedures. If there are equipment failures in other zones, they need to be addressed by the appropriate personnel. This isn't the time for bureaucratic technicalities. When is the right time? I asked. When OSHA shows up? When someone gets hurt because we keep bypassing safety systems to save money? When Ford pulls their contract because we can't maintain quality standards? The room went completely silent. You could hear the air conditioning struggling to keep up with the heat from 12 people all sweating for different reasons. Jerry Caldwell, who'd been quiet up until now, leaned forward in his chair. Wade, what exactly are you saying? I looked Jerry straight in the eye. He was old-school management, worked his way up from the shop floor back when that still meant something. If anyone in that room would understand what I was about to say, it would be him. I'm saying that for 21 years, I've been doing the jobs of about 4 different people because it was easier than fixing the system, I said. I've been covering for deferred maintenance, ignored safety protocols, and cost-cutting decisions that put people at risk. Today, I decided to do exactly what my job description says I should do. Nothing more, nothing less. Jerry nodded slowly. And what's happening to the plant as a result? The plant is showing you what it really looks like when everyone only does their assigned job, instead of relying on one person to catch everything that falls through the cracks. Ashley shifted in her seat. But that's not efficient. Having one person handle multiple systems creates redundancy and wasted resources. I turned to her. You're right. It's not efficient, it's also not sustainable, and it's definitely not safe. I opened my maintenance log and slid it across the table to Jerry. Every safety violation, every deferred repair, every bypassed system in this plant. All documented, all reported, all ignored. Jerry started flipping through the pages. His face got darker with each one. These hydraulic pressure readings. Wade, These systems are operating at 150% of rated capacity. Have been for 8 months. I submitted 14 different reports recommending immediate repairs. And the responses? Cost-benefit analysis pending. Defer until next budget cycle. Maintain current operations. Braden tried to interrupt. Wade, those were business decisions based on corporate priorities and... Shut up, Jerry said quietly, still reading. Wade, this accumulator failure you flagged 6 months ago. Is this the same system that failed last night? Yes, sir. Along with the safety interlocks that were bypassed to increase cycle times. Jerry closed the maintenance log and looked at Braden like he was seeing him for the first time. You've been running hydraulic presses with bypassed safety systems? The production targets from corporate required some operational flexibility. Operational flexibility. Jerry's voice was getting harder. That's what you call removing safety systems from 40-ton presses? The room was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Ashley was staring at her notebook like it might contain answers to questions she was just starting to understand. Jerry, I said, there's something else you need to know. That anonymous tip that triggered the OSHA investigation, the one that's bringing federal inspectors here tomorrow morning, everyone's head turned toward me. Braden's face went the color of concrete. That wasn't anonymous, I continued. I called them myself this morning, right after I got the call about the hydraulic press explosion. 21 years of documentation, all of it copied to the Department of Labor's Enforcement Division. The silence that followed was the kind you hear right before something very expensive breaks. Jerry stood up. Braden, Ashley, out. Now. Wade, stay. After they left, Jerry sat back down and rubbed his face with both hands. How bad is it going to be? Bad, I said. The hydraulic systems alone will require complete replacement. The bypassed safety interlocks are federal violations. The deferred maintenance on critical systems puts us in violation of about 12 different OSHA standards. Cost? Ballpark? $3.2 million to bring everything up to code. Another $1 million for the production downtime while we do the work. Jerry was quiet for a long time. Outside the conference room window, I could see the second shift workers arriving, looking confused about why half the production lines were shut down. Wade, I have to ask, why now? Why didn't you escalate this through proper channels months ago? I thought about how to answer that. I did escalate it. 14 reports to Braden, 6 formal safety complaints, 3 requests for meetings with regional management. All of them got the same response. Maintain current operations, defer repairs, meet production targets. So you decided to let the system collapse. I decided to do my job instead of everyone else's, I corrected. There's a difference. Jerry nodded. And if I offered you full authority to fix this mess, complete operational control, whatever budget you need, whatever staff you want, are you offering that? I'm asking if you'd take it. I looked out at the plant floor. Danny Kowalski was standing next to the broken conveyor, hands on his hips, probably wondering why the one guy who could fix it wasn't coming to help. Ashley was walking between the silent production lines with her clipboard, finally seeing what manufacturing looked like when the theories met reality. I'd want some conditions, I said. Name them. First, Braden gets moved somewhere he can't hurt people. Strategic planning, corporate liaison, whatever. Just nowhere near operational decisions. Done. Second, Ashley stays, but she works for me. Ground-up training. 6 months on the shop floor before she touches another efficiency report. She's family, Wade. Braden's going to fight that. Then Braden can explain to corporate why his nepotism hire contributed to a $4 million safety crisis. Jerry almost smiled. Fair point. What else? Full authority over hiring, training, and maintenance budgets. No more cost-benefit analysis on safety systems. And every single bypassed safety protocol gets restored before we restart production. The downtime will kill our quarterly numbers. The lawsuit from a worker getting killed by a hydraulic press would kill more than our quarterly numbers. Jerry was quiet again. Through the conference room window, I could see the OSHA van pulling into the parking lot, right on schedule. Wade, I need to know something. Are you doing this for revenge, or are you doing this because it's right? I thought about Jacob, working nights at the grocery store to save money for college applications. About Noah, 15 years old and already talking about following his dad into manufacturing. About the 200 families who depended on this plant staying open and staying safe. Both, I said. but mostly because 21 years ago I took a job maintaining equipment that keeps people safe. I've been doing that job. It's everyone else who forgot what their job was supposed to be. The OSHA inspector knocked on the conference room door. Through the glass, I could see 2 more inspectors setting up equipment in the main corridor and a woman with a camera documenting the broken conveyor system. Jerry stood up. "All right, Wade, fix it. Whatever you need, whatever it costs. But I want this plant running safely in 8 weeks, and I want it to be the safest facility in our entire division." "I can do that," I said. "But first, everyone needs to understand that safe doesn't mean cheap, and efficient doesn't mean cutting corners." The OSHA inspector introduced herself and started asking questions about the hydraulic systems. Jerry did most of the talking, but every few minutes she'd turn to me for technical details that nobody else in the room could provide. After an hour of questions, she closed her notebook and looked at Jerry. "Mr. Caldwell, based on my preliminary assessment, I'm recommending immediate shutdown of all hydraulic systems pending full safety inspection. We'll have a team here tomorrow to begin comprehensive evaluation of your entire facility." Jerry nodded. "How long are we looking at?" "Depends on what we find. Could be days, could be weeks." As she left, Jerry turned to me. "Congratulations, Director McKenzie. You just inherited the biggest mess in the history of Great Lakes Automotive." "I've been cleaning up messes here for 21 years, I said. "This time I just get to do it right." The next 8 weeks were the hardest and most satisfying of my career. OSHA shut us down for 12 days while they documented every safety violation in the plant. Their final report was 47 pages long and read like a textbook on how not to run a manufacturing facility. But buried in all that bureaucratic language was something I'd been trying to get management to understand for years. When you cut corners on safety, you don't save money. You just postpone paying a much bigger bill. The first thing I did was bring in Tommy Rodriguez from the tool and die shop to be my assistant director. Tommy had 18 years of experience and the kind of practical knowledge you can't learn in business school. He also had 0 patience for corporate nonsense, which made him perfect for the job. "Wade," he said after reviewing the OSHA report, "some of this stuff is so basic, it's embarrassing. Locked out safety systems, pressure gauges that haven't been calibrated in 3 years, hydraulic hoses held together with industrial tape." "I know," I said. "That's why we're going to fix all of it. Properly. The first time." We started with the hydraulic systems. Completely replaced all 6 presses with new equipment that had modern safety interlocks, pressure monitoring, and automatic shutdown systems. The old presses had been manufactured in 1987 and were basically antiques held together with hope and overtime labor. The new ones cost $800,000, but they could do the same work with half the maintenance and 0 risk of exploding. Ashley, to her credit, threw herself into learning the actual business instead of trying to optimize it from a distance. I put her on the night shift for her first month, working alongside the maintenance crew so she could see what manufacturing really looked like when the corporate executives weren't touring the facility. "I had no idea hydraulic systems were this complicated," she told me after her first week of 12-hour shifts. "Or this dangerous. Some of the stuff I was suggesting, God, Wade, I could have gotten people hurt." "Now you're learning," I said. "Engineering degrees are great, but they don't teach you what 40 tons of pressure sounds like when something's about to break." By week 6, we had the plant running again, but with completely different priorities. Safety came first, always. Quality came second. Production speed came third. It sounds simple, but it was revolutionary for a place that had been cutting corners for so long that nobody remembered what the corners were supposed to look like. The difference was immediate and measurable. Our accident rate dropped to 0. Our rejection rate from Ford's quality control went from 12% to less than 1%. And our production efficiency actually improved because we weren't constantly stopping to fix broken equipment or redo defective parts. Jerry Caldwell brought a team of corporate executives down from Toledo to see the results. They walked through the plant asking questions about our safety protocols, our maintenance schedules, and our training programs. Every answer came back to the same basic principle: do things right the first time, and you won't spend half your time fixing what you did wrong. McKenzie, one of the executives, said, "These results are impressive. How did you turn things around so quickly?" "I didn't turn anything around," I said. "I just stopped pretending that broken systems could work if you pushed them hard enough." 3 months after the crisis, Jacob got his acceptance letter from Michigan State. full scholarship for engineering students with manufacturing family backgrounds. When he called to tell me, I could hear the excitement in his voice that made 21 years of shift work worth every minute. Dad, they said my essay about learning manufacturing from you was one of the best they'd read. I wrote about how real engineering isn't just about designing things. It's about maintaining them and keeping them safe. That's my boy, I said, probably grinning wider than I had in months. Noah, my 15-year-old, started spending his afternoons at the plant, learning basic maintenance and safety procedures. He had the same mechanical instincts I'd had at his age, but with better opportunities and a father who could show him how to do things the right way from the beginning. Dad, he asked one day while we were checking pressure gauges, did you always know that management was making bad decisions? Most of the time, I said. But knowing something's wrong and being able to fix it are two different things. Sometimes you have to wait for the right moment, or let people figure out for themselves what the consequences are. 6 months after becoming director, our plant was chosen as the safety benchmark for all Great Lakes automotive facilities. Other plants started sending their supervisors to us for training. The irony wasn't lost on me that the specialist knowledge Braden had wanted to eliminate was now being used to train people across the entire company. Braden, meanwhile, was reassigned to a corporate planning position where he couldn't make decisions that put people at risk. Last I heard, he was working on PowerPoint presentations about strategic initiatives and competitive positioning. Perfect job for someone who preferred theory to reality. Ashley finished her 6-month training program and became my deputy director. She still had a lot to learn, but she approached it with the humility of someone who had seen what happened when you made assumptions about things you didn't understand. Looking back on everything, I realized this story isn't really about getting revenge on management or proving I was right. It's about something simpler and more important: knowing your worth and refusing to let other people's incompetence define your value. For 21 years, I'd been the invisible foundation holding up a system that was fundamentally broken. I wasn't angry about that, but I was tired of it. When they told me I wasn't qualified for advancement, I didn't argue. I just stopped carrying weight that wasn't mine to carry. Sometimes the best way to show people what you're worth is to let them see what happens when you're not there to catch everything that falls. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, here's what I want you to remember. Your expertise has value. Your experience matters. And if the people around you can't see that, sometimes the best thing you can do is step back and let reality teach them what you've been trying to tell them all along. That's not revenge, that's just good engineering. Systems work best when every component does its job properly and breaks down when one part tries to do everyone else's job too. I'm McKenzie, and that's my story about the day I stopped being everyone's safety net and started being their director instead. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to work harder. It's to stop doing other people's jobs and let the system show everyone what your real contribution has been all along.